Hi guys, I'm gonna fix my angle here a little bit. Welcome, welcome, and hello. I'm gonna wait for a couple people to get in, get myself all set up here. Time started a little earlier than I expected, but we are good. Hello, whoever's joined, jumped in, say hi. Hello, Mr. Drew. A pleasure to see you as always. And what's very funny is you showed up really quickly on my phone, but you just showed up over here. Thank you for the like. I am going to pull out my list. Yes, and I wanted to add hello, whoever has joined in. We're just getting ready to start. Today we are talking about wonderful memories. Not always happy memories, but ones that stick with you or become that great story you love to tell. Specifically about Disney and Universal. I am on a Mac, use stickies. Oh, that I have phone, but that works too. Okay. So I thought I would share some stories and see, get some of yours and see how your thoughts and all that kind of fun stuff. So I don't know if I lost connection with you guys. I see it's still live, but I may be the only one here. So I'm going to start. So like I said, a lot of us can't get back to the parks. It's not safe if you have compromised systems. The numbers are really high on the daily basis in Florida, so it's kind of a scary proposition to travel there, just because you don't know what everyone else is going to be bringing in. So I have decided to share some fun future memories or some from past memories and things that kind of keep you going, because I know you've all got them if you've been to the parks, and if you haven't been, these will give you some ideas of some interesting and fun things that have happened. So I'm going to start when I was age 7. My family planned a trip down to Disney World. It had just opened. We stayed in the cheap hotel, the Polynesian. It was the cheap hotel back then. And we took the Amtrak from New Jersey down. And we got off the Amtrak and waited for our bags. Waited for our bags. I think we got one for 10 people, because it was my dad, my mom, my brother, my sister, and me, my aunt, my uncle, their 2 kids, and my grandma. We had like, might have each had a little carry-on bag. Literally, we had the clothes on our backs because we had slept in them because we did the overnight train when we got there. So we have no luggage. So my parents, from what I've learned after the fact, kind of worked with Disney to get our luggage to us, but worked with Amtrak. And our luggage, we found out, was in South Carolina. Some of it ended up in Miami. I believe there was another stop in Georgia where some of it had landed. And it took about 3 days for our clothing and stuff to get to us. So, we were given a couple odds and ends supplies, but it got to about 2 days into the trip, maybe. I don't remember, because child brain, you don't necessarily have all those details. Yeah, they just took the luggage off at the wrong stops, Drew. They kept, oh, here we're in South Carolina, let's take that bag off the train. And it was ours for Orlando. So, so my aunt and my mom made each family in their respective hotel room take all their clothes off and get under the covers. So everybody's under the covers. My sister and I are in one bed, my dad and my brother in the other bed, and we're just waiting, and same thing in the other side. And then my mom and my aunt took all of our clothing. I'm not sure what they wore. I mean, they had clothing. They did not go naked, but they had everybody's clothing, and they walked it over to the washing machines that are at the Polynesian and washed everybody's laundry. And so for 3 hours, we just laid in bed waiting for our luggage to show up. While that was not a good experience, the goofiness of the reality of all of us just sitting there waiting in bed going, okay, got no clothes now, we got to wait, was just hysterical. It was hysterical. And one of my favorite stories from that is the lost luggage that Amtrak delivered everywhere but where it needed to be. We also, on that same trip, and Drew, you were actually part of the second half of this story. It's the great Dumbo avoidance, as I like to call it. So way back when, in 1971 or 2 or 3 or whatever, no, they opened in 1, so this I guess was 73-ish. When you got on the kids' rides, they would put strangers next to each other. I would have a stranger sitting next to me. I didn't necessarily have to be somebody I knew. So I had complete strangers sitting next to me. And this little boy wanted to fly high, and I was terrified of heights. So I kind of wanted to be low and a little safer, and made a deal with him before the ride started. I said, if you want to control it for the first half, and then we'll switch and I'll control it for the second half, so we both get a chance. And he said, that sounds like a great idea. Or whatever you say as a 7-year-old, sure. And the ride goes up. And about halfway through the ride, I'm like, okay, it's my turn. No! And we were all the way up for the entire time. I was terrified out of my mind, really unhappy, really upset, really miserable, and got off the ride and swore to myself I was never getting on Dumbo again. Forward about 40 years, and I still had not been on Dumbo. Might have been 43 years at this point. Had not been on the ride. Finally, it had to have been about 40, about 5 years ago. It was that special trip that we do not name, Drew. So I get on, and oh no, we're going in line. There's nobody in line. I'm like, all right, I'm going to suck it up. Let's go try the ride. And Drew, very generously, was going to sit, was sharing the little Dumbo thing with me. And he's like, I will let you control the height. I was like, thank you. So we went to start the height, and yeah, that one. And crazy trip. I went to start to move the controller, and it was broken. So no one controlled it. We just got the automated. We're just going to stay in the middle and stay in the middle. And then everyone goes up and everyone goes down at the very end. So I was not in control, but it was finally the way I wanted the ride to be. So that was good. And it just made me laugh that it was like, I still wasn't in control, but I was okay. And then since then I got on again, and I was able to control it, and I even got on it another time and had someone else control it. But so I had that awful memory that finally got turned into something very fun and very lovely, and that made me a whole lot happy. If you have specific memories you want to share and you want to type in, please go ahead and throw those in the comments. Comments are over here for you guys on the side while this is live. If you are watching it after the fact, and I still would love to hear your stories, the comments are going to be below, or they get semi-hidden behind when you're doing it on the phone. It's like somewhere in here. Oh, that's Sammy. For those of you, she has something on her eyes, but she's there. So I'm going to turn that off. So let's go back into other fun things. So that was that one. So my senior trip in high school, I figured I'd do these semi-time organized. What format do you want to go through? By park, by year? Your favorite memory, I guess, or the story that you go, oh my God, I have to share this one. This is when you talk Disney, this is the story you tell, with one caveat, and you know what it is, Drew. No one else has that caveat. It's just with he and I. So whatever tale you want to tell, whatever that story is, that if you can't go back, that's that one you kind of hold with you. And there are some recent ones that I have from stuff you and I have done as well. So I was doing them in time order just because that's kind of how I scribbled them down. So when I was going on my senior trip, Epcot had recently opened. It had been open for a few years. My sister had gone, but I had not before. So I was very interested and very excited. Hello, Gadeep. I am wonderful. How are you today? We are talking about Disney memories and Universal memories, and when you can't get to the parks, what's that wonderful story that you have about having been there, the one that is about your family or you and your friends, or something that you just kind of hold with you and makes the day that much more fun. So actually, I'm going to skip that one because I think that one is not actually, yeah. So I had a really bad senior trip in high school. I'll admit it. I did not, I was in a room with people I wasn't close with. I clashed with a bunch of people. So I was not having I remember we went to medieval times and I was all excited and my friends were laughing at me because I was excited about it. I ended up the end of that evening hiding in a closet crying. It was a really bad trip. And you're with your entire senior class. And it was awful. So one of the last days we got to Epcot. And I was just fed up with everybody. I said, that's it. I write plays, I write shows that I perform, but I am an actor and director by trade. I write the shows, I've written music, not the melodies per se, but lyrics and sometimes melodies. So back to my tale. So I decided I was just done with everybody. And I was going to go, and one other girl said she would join me for lunch. We were going to try to go and eat at the teppanyaki restaurant. And I was unhappy, but started to walk by myself and started exploring and got into the Japanese pavilion. And right now in the Japanese pavilion, there's this section that is a cute culture. And it's this just separate little place that you kind of walk through, and it's a mini museum. And at this time, I think it was actually in the tall tower. At least that's what my memory had been, is that it was in the tall tower where they do the drumming now. And I walked in just to see what was there. And it was a Japanese kabuki theater history display with the costuming, the masks. And I was an actor. So this was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And I spent like an hour reading the stuff and reading every placard and looking at the details. And I'd never have been able to do that by myself. And then I walk over to England, and they've got SAC Theater. And for those of you who don't know what SAC Theater is, that was a semi-improvisational performance thing. It's sort of like if for those of you who know my shows, you get characters who play parts in the stories, like when I did the Three Little Pigs or something, and you get audience members to play parts and you give them funny things to do. And play with them and just let it kind of improv and be what it is. So they had someone doing St. George and the Dragon, a group of 3 people there, and I loved it. And then I went over to the Italy section, and they had another group of SAC theater performers doing a different tale in Italy that was Italy based. And all I remember is the lead guy in the group had the black kind of feathered hair that was big in the 80s. And at one point when he's trying to, hawk the audience, hawking meaning draw people in, at one point he says, all right, everybody, let's get everyone excited. Ready? And he turns away and he comes back and he goes, look, Rick Springfield, turns up his collar. And he really did look like Rick Springfield for that moment. And it just made me laugh. But that whole day, with nobody else from my class, just me walking around and exploring Epcot. My friend who was supposed to meet me for lunch, she was a no-show. So I had a spot by myself, but we sat in the table of, that table of 8 with strangers. And I had an incredible day. And it was, honestly, when I think about all of my memories from the senior trip, that was the most exciting and the most wonderful time of my entire time there. And it was completely by myself. But, it is what it is, but it was a lovely thing. One of my favorite experiences is the repeat return to Nomad's Lounge with me, sitting with beverages and bantering as I gushed over the gluten-free churros and played with my tripod. Not always well. You are correct. And I have some new tripods to play with. That tripod it breaks. The Jobies tend to break, I've discovered. So I have 2 large ones. One I'm hoping that when I do get to go back somewhere, I'll get to use. That is a gimbal. And does a little more manipulatable things. It's not the highest end gimbal. I can't afford those yet. But hey, what the hell? Which, by the way, for people, hello, Shaggy. One of my favorite. Well, okay, wait. I'm going to get to you in 1 second. I'm going to face. So Drew. So just gushing over I always gush over gluten-free churros. I love the gluten-free churros. They are so amazing. And I miss them. And I will eat 2 orders by myself, no questions asked. Just wouldn't be a problem. And then I'll have other food, but oh my God, those churros, they're so good. But that was very nice. That was very nice. And you're talking about the one that was a few months ago, I'm assuming. Yeah, it had to have been. We were sitting in the chairs rather than lounging on the couches. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Well, for those of you who are relating into that story, we went to Animal Kingdom. It was the last day right before the parks closed. We started we started in Magic Kingdom that morning, which is going to be some of my stories that I'll be sharing later. And then we went into Animal Kingdom, and all we went there for was so that I could get the gluten-free churros. That was where we were going to have lunch. There were drinks involved too. I had my Tempting Tigress. Drew got Jen's Tattoo and the Annapurna Sling. But yeah, it was so I could get gluten-free churros. It really was. They were so good. Every dang time, honestly, you had the tripod fall over the table while we lunched. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, some of them were better than others, but yes, that one was the little one that was truly dying at that point. All right. So Shaggy, you said one of my favorite experiences was marching down Main Street during a trip with the marching band. Oh, so your band got to perform there. Oh, that must have been so cool. Do you remember what you played, or how many songs you guys did, or how much time you had to do that was the marching band, whereas how much time you got to play in the parks? I'd be curious, because that sounds kind of awesome. I have never performed in any part of Disney. I had a friend whose daughter was part of the Christmas concerts, one of the choirs singing in the Christmas concerts, and they got 4 days out of being there in rehearsal for part of the days, and then just getting to play a good chunk of the time. And they actually got to go to Universal too, so they really made an experience out of it, which I thought was fabulous. Drew drinks all the things. He drank 2 of the things, and actually you had a Diet Coke too, so maybe you did drink all the things because you had a sip of mine. But there are things on that menu we have not had yet, and it is open right now. One day, soon. Yeah, so yeah, adore the gluten-free churros. So I'm waiting for Shaggy's tale, and I'm pronouncing it Gadip, and I'm not sure if that's what it's supposed to be, but here we go. There's a cool mask. They are authentic. They are real masks. I perform Commedia dell'arte. This is AK, lots of letters, and 420. Okay. The Commedia dell'arte was a style of theater from the Italian Renaissance. I am very famous for performing in that mask. I have performed in most of them. The Sirius mask over here, I just done some stuff in. The owl mask, which is a latex mask here, I designed. I didn't do a whole lot with it. All the ones on this side I made. Most of the ones on this side I made. Some of them I did not. But they are the real deal. They're paper mache. And they are sealed on the inside, so when you sweat, you don't eat away at it. The ones I wear a lot that I perform in, I actually line with leather, so that the sweat will go into the animal material that I can replace, versus into the paper mache, which literally melts the mask if you continue to do it, hence the sealant, etc. What do we got? Shaggy. We were in the afternoon parade at the time. As you know, the actual parade route is pretty short, true. So it lasted about 20 minutes, maybe. I don't remember what we played at the time. That just sounds awesome, though, to be able to be there, because I'm assuming if you were playing in the parade, you had like people lined up all on the sides of the road. I mean, that's exciting, you know. That's just, and it's in such a magical location. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I've been performing in them for years. Obviously, with the pandemic going on, I can't perform. I'm looking at options, and I will probably look at potentially doing some more live streams with character stuff. And actually, you've given me the ability to go into that conversation. It's since the festival is not happening, and again, a chunk of work has been lost for me. One of the things I did start is a coffee page, KO-FI page, where if you join, you can buy me a Dole Whip, as I like to put it, instead of a coffee, but to help support buying new equipment so that I can continue vlogging and the other expenses that I may have lost in terms of theater work. So you are not required to do that at all. It's just something I threw up for people who wanted the opportunity to help out if you can. And if you can't, I don't care. Enjoy the vlogs, enjoy the shows. If you can subscribe to the channel, that helps me. If you're enjoying this, to hit the like button, the thumbs up button, and comment. Those are the things that'll help here in the long term as well. So any kind of support and being a part of this, I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it. So back to the fun stuff here. So Shaggy says, it was during spring break, I think. There would have been around 1990s. How fun. Okay. I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I was there in the mid 80s. It was been like 85. I was there. So 71 and then 85. And then I came back. Okay, so this one, and here's an interesting memory. I had a meeting that was held in Orlando. I work with a group that does meetings. That's how I'm getting by these days. And one of the things that we did is we did a tasting. We were doing it at Coronado Springs. So I was allowed to come down in the pre-event to see the venue and help get stuff set up and to learn about, help them make choices. And they were testing like 4 different fishes and chickens, and like they were doing little tasting plates of all of these different foods. And of course, all of the other people I'm with who are, they're adults. I was much younger then. I was, more gung-ho, probably about 20 years ago. Yeah, about 19 years ago, we did this thing. And they take, a couple bites of the food. Oh, okay, I like that. And I ate everything they put in front of me. It was all good. They had a sea bass that was amazing. They had filet. They did chicken. The only thing they didn't do is pork because they knew they couldn't serve pork to the attendees of that event. But oh my God, it was so much fun. But gourmet little tastings. And I will tell you now, if you ever do a dinner catered event at Disney, if you're lucky enough to do a wedding or a meeting or something like that where you do that, oh my God, the food's amazing. There's so many places when you go to these catered events and the food is dry chicken, when you sit down at a wedding, and oh my God, and this was an event of like 600 people, and every plate that came up was so good, so good. So that was a funny little memory. I also managed to visit all 4 parks in 2 days at that point. I have since done them all in 1 day. But when I travel by myself, I can go so quickly through them. Drew says, switching to Universal. Yes, please. Back in the early 90s, I was fortunate enough to go to Hollywood Horror Nights. Unreal how immersive that experience was. Yeah, I've seen video of those. Keith went to one of those. Keith and Judy Keith went to one of those, and he loved it. And actually, Mike and Jen's Mike went to it. It was so Mike and Keith went, while the other 2 were a bunch sane and did not do that. Did not leave the Disney bubble, I don't think. But yeah, it's exceptional, and unfortunately, and I don't know if you've heard, this past week they have canceled Halloween Horror Nights for this year. It's not realistic that you could hold it during what's going on. In the dark, people are going to try to take their masks off in the dark, and the whole point is like boo and scaring and touching, and you don't want to put people in those kinds of tight quarters. The dynamic is just what I can't imagine how they could have done it. They did open the tribute store, and I've seen some video of that, and it's spooky and scary. What was this? Did they have houses back then, Drew? And if they did, what was your scariest moment? Like, what was the biggest scare you had there? I thought that was Disney. That was Universal. I only briefly skimmed the headline. Yeah, no. Well, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, they canceled a month ago or a month and a half ago. They just this week canceled Universal's Halloween Horror Nights officially. But yeah, I'd be curious what house or what was your biggest scare there? What do you remember other than just being in the experience? Was there a particular scare actor that jumped out and did something? Or did you watch your friend get really, really scared that was hysterically funny or something? I'd be just curious. It's always nice. All right, so let's see. Oh, okay. So this one is actually going to show up on video on the vlog in 2 weeks, I think. Drew, you were at this one as well, as was Dawn. And we had made dinner plans at Flying Fish. And that night we had a rental car. I'm the one driving. So I was not going to drink a lot. I still wanted to get something. And one of the things they have on the menu at Flying Fish are rare and unusual wines. So they will put 1 ounce, 3 ounce, 8 ounce, and then bottles. Now, the bottle is like $1,500, but you could get 1 ounce for $17, which was about the cost of a regular glass of wine there. And I said, well, you know what? If I can't drink a whole lot anyway, I want something of major quality, something really unusual that I can enjoy. Let me give it a try. Let me see. So I went ahead and ordered 1 ounce of Opus One. If you don't know what Opus One is, it is Napa Valley Vineyard. Just to go in and do a tasting, like where you take a couple sips of it's $150 to do a tasting. They make 1 wine a year, I believe, just called Opus One, and it is a blend of whatever they do proprietarily, and it's like $500-600 a bottle normally. Like if you just went and bought it yourself, it's at least that. So I Got 1 ounce for $17. But that's all I needed, was just to have the experience in the glass, etc. So the wine comes, and I smelled it. And it was very raisiny. I'm like, wow, okay. I didn't expect it to be like that, but let me give it a sniff. Let me see. Took, swirl it and took a sip, and the legs weren't as strong as I thought they should be. And it really did. It was like a little sour, a little raisiny. I was like, wow, this wine sucks. I'm glad I didn't spend $600 on a bottle. I'm glad I didn't do all of this. So yeah, it really was neat. Neat deal. Let me see what the houses didn't really impress me. It was the wandering street events. The death swooped in. Oh, nice. Oh, yay. Screaming teenage girls. That's my Universal story, but what's coming up for that one, Drew. Also, I rounded a corner completely unaware a show was going on and did hear the loudspeakers in the speech. It was the mayor giving the key. Oh, neat. Giving the key to an evil genius. Fun. Yeah, I've seen the openings where they do like the purge has begun and they let people in kind of thing. So those are really fun. And that turned into this crime-fighting robot standing up the size of at least a semi-truck that blew out its head, and the police snipers. Oh, wow. That sounds insane. Yeah, they go all out for their Halloween stuff. They really, really do. It's so impressive. Okay, so I'm stepping back. We were talking. Oh, so so the waitress, I found out her name was Aubrey because I found video of it, and she was like, "How was the wine?" And we went, actually, we didn't like it, which I'm thrilled about because I've never had to spend the money. Therefore, I've saved myself all of it. She's like, really? But yeah, it was very raisiny, like it's been pulled too late from the vine, and just described it. She went, oh, well, okay, that's a shame. Okay, cool. And then she went away, and a few minutes later, she came back and she's setting stuff down on the table. She says, oh, by the way, I have a magic moment for you. The sommelier said it's not supposed to taste like that, so he's opening a fresh bottle and we're giving you a new pour. So I got to have 2 ounces of Opus One. Now I was like, okay, we'll give it a try. And that second glass, night and day. Holy heck. Oh my goodness. Yeah, just rounded and soft, and it kept changing flavor. And like some wines change flavor as they've been open a while. This one kept changing flavor as I was sipping it. Like mid sip, it's like, oh, and then that happened. Oh, and then it was so beautiful and so complex and so lovely. And I had my 2nd ounce of Opus One, and it was perfection. And it went with my incredible octopus that I had that night, and my panna cotta that they made that had a strawberry rhubarb sauce and these little, they were fins, but Don kept saying they looked like butterfly wings that were like coming out of chocolate. They were chocolate butterfly wings coming out of, or fish fins coming out of it. So much fun. It was a great dinner. It was an incredible experience. And that is why one of my absolute top restaurants is Flying Fish. And again, if you guys have memories that you want to share, like you've been doing here, that is great. You felt the heat, you smelled the fuel. Oh, wow. Similar to when we were watching the Star Wars fireworks, where you could just feel them so far back from where you were. It's so intense. I love that kind of, the way they have that magical ability of putting you in the moment. Universal has it, Disney has it. You're living that experience, no, so much like, Galaxy's Edge stuff now, or the Raptor encounter, which will be my next story. I will move away from food to share the next amusing tale. So Drew and I wanted to go to the Raptor encounter. It had recently opened. And for those of you who don't know, the Raptor encounter is a meet and greet with a raptor. It is now Blue from the Jurassic World movies. At that point, it was one of the 3 random raptors that existed. This is before Jurassic World came out. And I knew it was a photo meet and greet. I knew that's all it was. I wanted to do it. It just looked really fun and really cool. Being a walking meet and greet myself, it was like, this is a character that you wouldn't necessarily see. Well, we want to give it a try. So he thought it was something like, there was this old animatronic Triceratops, I think you were saying, that he just thought it was going to be like this kind of static thing and he didn't want to do it, but he was humoring me. I was like, thank you. That's very nice of you. Oh yeah, the Hollywood Studios pre-Galaxy's Edge firework. Yep, 2 days after. Yep. Well, we saw them. I think we saw them. Did we see them before or after? The timing on the video footage, I looked like it was after, but yeah, that was when she showed up on the screen. Oh my God, heartbreaking. Yeah, obviously assembled. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we get in line for the raptor encounter, and I'm standing there, and behind me is a mother, her son, and another woman that was with them. Who knows if it was an aunt, a friend, whatever. There's two women of a mature age, and a boy that was probably somewhere between 8 and 12. I'm guessing closer to between 8 and 10. And you're standing in line for a while, and slowly moving, and then they announced that the raptor is going to get fed now, or the two raptors getting fed. They're going to bring another one out in a little while, but this is a photo op, and this is what's going on now. So most of the line started to walk away, and we get up. It's another group in front of us, and then us, and then this two women and the son. And they say, they start asking the cast member, so what happens in this? And it's like, what do they feed them? Oh, that's because they were being fed. What do we feed them? And they're like, oh, well, cow. Well, actually, Drew and I just decided to jump in as they were asking questions. We're like, cows, sheep, whole. They put a whole cow in there. Yeah, well, I mean, it is a dinosaur. I mean, they're pretty big. They got teeth, but they put it in alive. Oh yeah, they're not going to chase after it if it's dead. You need to have live raw meat for them to be able to feel to hunt. That's their instinct, but don't worry about it. No. It's like, when a cat or snake gets a mouse and they go and they snap the neck really fast. So it's not fighting anymore. Same thing. And then they just eat it after that, but they need to do the hunting themselves. Well, we realized they're believing us. So we turned to the cast member who was still there at the moment. And I said, I'm sorry, if I'm speaking out of turn or any of this is incorrect, please correct me. He went, oh no, you're right. I have to go now. And he left us with them. We have another 5 to 7 minutes to chat with these people. So we start talking about the genetics and the eating habits and the hunting habits and all of this stuff, some of which I had heard from being in line, some of which I decided just to creatively share, as did Drew. And finally, the new one comes out and the line moves up. And they put you haven't seen the dinosaur before at this point. And then they move you into like this area. It's a new area now. So it's different. But, so you're kind of in there. So you're there, but the dinosaur's still kind of around the corner. So we're there. And, they told us don't make eye contact if you're female. They take that as a threat because they're female. And if you're you wear red or you're a redhead, those could be considered a threat, So the group in front of us goes up, and then we go up, and we take our pictures, and it's fun, and it's silly, and it's rah, and it attacks you, kind of thing. And then we start to leave, and I'm getting ready to go. I picked up my bag, I'm walking away, and Drew grabs me by the arm and says, "No, wait." I was like, "No, we finished. We should get out of it." No, wait. I'm like, what? And then I turn back because it's the other people's turn. So the one woman, the friend, was fine to start to walk up. The little boy is now screaming and crying. No, I don't want to go near it. No, it's going to eat me. He's hiding behind the photographer now. The mom is now not sure she wants to do it. She's a little scared. And says, okay. The other woman is, she was going to be fine with it. So one of the handlers says, listen, I'll stand with you. And that way, you're protected from him. And the mom was like, oh, okay. All right. So she comes up and she's like this, she puts her arms around him, but she's, if the women are here, she's kind of standing here with her arms around them, kind of like that. And her face is between them. And then as they're really focused on getting the picture taken, she steps back and out of the way. And the dinosaur's head comes between the two women. And the little boy from behind the photographer is shrieking, "No, Mom, turn around. It's going to eat you. No, Mom, it's going to eat you. It's getting closer. Run!" And they finished at that point. I have literally fallen on the ground. I am laughing so hard. Drew was also equally laughing. And I realized that it was somewhat at somebody's expense. But the one woman knew for a fact it was absolutely fake. And that little boy, for the rest of his life, will have a tale about how a dinosaur almost ate his mom. For real. until eventually, maybe in his teens, he goes back and he sees it again, if he ever gets the bravery up to do it, and we'll go, oh man, I swore that thing was real. Didn't they have a real one before? You know, it's going to embed into his memory forever as the real thing. And just, it made me laugh. We eventually Facebook live chatted about it, and that will be going in the video coming up next week. I'm editing that footage. So yes, you'll get to hear us the moment after it happened, telling our version of it. So yeah, we were very bad people, but oh my God, that thing was funny. It was so good. And Matt says, hello, I think she saw it, Drew, was regarding the wine. Oh, wait. I'm not sure I saw your comment. Came to remind you what you thought. It sounded like a fun deal. All right, sorry, hold on. I have to go backwards. I rounded the corner. All right, that was all I want to have. Sounds like a fun deal. Oh, Matt was talking about the wine. Okay, the one on support of the wine. Okay. And Matt, by the way, I went into Arturo's the other day, and they remembered you. I was like, yeah, I had a friend come in because of that, so I thought that was very funny. Crime fighting. Oh yeah, Pre-Galaxy's Edge. Matt, I'm not sure she saw your comment. Okay, yeah, so the wine was pretty fabulous. Pretty fabulousness. Okay, so we're going to go back to food experiences now, because I mean, yeah, gluten-free churros and Dole Whip, and the Dole Whip with the raspberry Dole Whip pineapple swirl over the hot chocolate frozen. That was good. So yes, I mean, there's plenty of those kind of stories, but there are a few meals that you can experience, and it really truly is an experience, other than Victoria and Albert's. Now, unfortunately, while Drew was with me, I can't say that he experienced it in the same way that I did, because he was so ill and was progressively getting ill that day that we weren't quite realized, but he just suddenly was just not up for anything. They made some accommodations for us, which they normally don't do, which was an incredibly generous thing on their part. But the whole day, we decided we were going to do a no park day. We were just going to treat ourselves. So that morning we got up, we drove over to Grand Floridian, and we went to the spa, and we got facials. And then we went across the parking lot into the Grand Floridian, and we had the afternoon tea, which is, the first course is cheeses and fruit. The second course is, the finger sandwiches, like small sandwiches. They have like a curry chicken salad. They have, maybe a caprese sandwich. They do a tuna. Sometimes they do, and on that first, no, maybe it was for cheeses and sandwiches and fruit in the first course. The second course was scones, and they had clotted cream, and either, depending on when you go, the fruit changes, but I prefer the apricot jam that they have, and clotted cream, and lemon curd, fresh made lemon curd. And they make gluten-free versions of all of this, so I was able to partake and enjoy the whole thing. And then dessert, you have a choice of the seasonal trifle, which I can't have, berries and cream, or they do chocolate cups with fruit in them, or chocolate covered strawberries, and macarons. No, my syllables are off on there. And it's just, you're stuffed. Like, it is lunch if you do it early enough. And if you do it later, you're not going to want dinner. You don't think it's a lot of food, but you suddenly finish it and go, oh my God, I'm full. It's amazing. Rock on. Oga's Cantina was magical. Stay for the drinks, eat elsewhere. Yeah. All right. So one of the vloggers I follow is always so positive about everything. He really is. And every person I have ever talked to about the food at Oga's Cantina, every video prior to this that I saw, everyone's just like, don't get it. It was weird. I sort of think that was mozzarella. I think that was a pork skin, pork rind. Don't know. So he got it, and he's raving about how great the food is, and it's unusual, but this is great. I was like, you're just being nice now. I can't. I mean, you just don't want to say anything bad. And maybe he did like it because I guess it's still on the menu, and somebody's got to buy it at some point. But yeah. So we've. Let me go back to Victoria and Albert Day. So we do facials, the afternoon tea. Then we went back to the spa, and we got massages. And I think, Drew, you might have had you changed yours up slightly because of what was happening with you, I think, health-wise. But I got a fabulous massage. And then we very slowly took our time because we were like one of some of the later appointments I got redressed and got dressed up. I spent a little bit of time, I think, in the sauna room, just kind of, enjoying space, and then ended up putting on all the pretty stuff, putting makeup on, did the whole works, because it was valet parking. Because we were where we were having dinner that night, we got free valet parking rather than having to park on the far end and do that whole walk with our stuff. So they pulled the car around for us, and we tipped them so we could put our bags back into the car because they lock up the spa at that point, so we couldn't leave anything in there. And went up to Victoria and Albert's for dinner. Now, we could not get, the chef's table is like 6 people. You can't get in there. You have to have that group. We didn't get that unless you have a lot of money and want to pay for 6 people and only get 2 meals. The Queen's room, which has 4 tables, I think 4 or 8, it's tiny as well, is the next step up from where the main room, and didn't get in that one either one day. But we did get out in the main dining room. There were maybe 10 to 12 tables. And a harpist. Not all the tables were filled, but that's on purpose. There were 2 seatings, and the second seating, I think, was like at 7 o'clock. That's the latest, because it is a 3 to 4 hour event. They will not fire the next course, until you have completely finished the course you have just had. So everything is immediate and fresh, and the flavors are glorious, and oh my God. Now, and the other thing is, all right, so before you even go, when you make your reservation, you tell them, these are the things I can't eat. These are the things I really, really, really hate. And they will build a menu. Or these are the allergies. And then a couple days beforehand, they will call you back and confirm, these are the allergies this person has. These are the allergies this person has, blah, blah, blah. So you go in there and they've got all your stuff. Then they bring you your menu. Now, in most cases, they try to keep people on the same standard menu. But when you're like me, and there are things you can't have, like the first thing was a pate in puffed pastry, like a little bite size, and amuse-bouche. And I couldn't have that because pastry is wheat. And so they brought me out a cauliflower panna cotta that had 3 teeny tiny potato chips, like teeny tiny potato chips, teeny tiny perspective, like half an inch circle, minute. A dollop of black caviar, and a single chive across the caviar, and the Japanese spoon rest that everyone uses as a spoon. So when you got the panna cotta and the salt, it was the creamy butteriness of the panna cotta, the saltiness of the caviar, the single chive, and you scooped it kind of up with that potato chip, which gave you a little more salt to it, a different kind of salt to it. Oh my God. It is the best bite of food I have ever had in my life. And that was the amuse-bouche to start the dinner. I got wine pairings. I did the 10 course with wine pairings. Since Drew was not able to partake as much, I wanted to go as whole hog as I could, so they weren't losing money on the table. And holy heck. And gluten-free. If I'm lucky, I might get a bread normally. They had 3 different types of bread for me. I got multiple bread services. And I got my own butter. And I got, and they have fresh Himalayan sea salt on the table that you can sprinkle on top of your butter as you want. And the tea and the coffee. Oh my God, they have these distillers. And I found out this is not the only other place that this has been done, which of course not. But they distill, they have water in the bottom, your tea leaf or your coffee grinds at the top. And the shapes of the pots are different depending on what you get. And then they put a sterno under it and they turn it on and you watch it start to steam and start to heat and then really start to bubble. And then the water level starts going down, but it now is bubbling up in the top section where the steam has gone up to. And I think that place is closed. So it's not like it's escaping. It's just going up into this new bowl on top, and it's bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. And then at the point when all of the water has bubbled off out of the base, they turn the sterno off and it cools. And as it cools, it drops all the way through. And there's a little screen between where the tea leaves and everything was at the top and the bowl at the bottom where everything goes back into, and it strains it. So you get your coffee or your tea, just purely distilled, fresh water, boiled at your table or whatever. So good. I thought it was an additional thing, and I was like, oh no, I don't need to add that. I don't need to add that, because I had the ones. I should have gotten the tea. I should have gotten the darn tea. It looked so yummy, or even gotten the decaf coffee, because oh my god, it looked good. It was a 4-hour meal. Poor Drew sat there sick the entire time, like miserable sick, and fading. He was drinking hot toddies. He had lots of their tea. I felt really bad. We almost either had him take the car home and I was going to take an Uber, or vice versa. But he ended up toughing it out and staying. The courses were amazing. Each course had its own wine. So I'm kind of glad he stayed, because I don't know that I should have driven after that. They gave every woman a rose at the end of dinner. They also made hand-dipped chocolates, and you could pick the 3 flavors you wanted from this box they brought out. At one point, we see this thing that looks like a hat, kind of a shaped hat, being rolled around, and we're like, what is that hat? What is that hat? Turns out it was butter for one of the services. They carved your butter off of this hat shape, like chef hat, French chef. They would carve your butter off and put that on your plate, and then you could salt it yourself. Oh my God. We had 2 people helping us and 1 other table. So they were serving 4 people the entire night. Tip, tax, and everything just for my portion, when all was said and done, was $485. 10 courses, a wine with every course, including the tip. And I'm not a cheap tipper. You know, you tip well, especially holiday season, and these people are working their tail off. It was extraordinary. And that, like I said, that panna cotta will never leave my brain. Oh my God. And then at one point I went to go to the restroom, which, I mean, the restroom was gorgeous and beautifully appointed, etc. But I come out of the restroom. He said, by the way, you know how normally they'll like fold your napkin when you leave? Yeah, they gave you a new one. So a service beyond compare. The food was beyond compare. It was such an exceptional experience. By the way, if you're joining in here and you have comments or things you would like to share, or a memory you want to throw in there, type it on in. Don't forget to like the live stream. Hit that little thumbs up down there. If you are not subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing. That would help a lot. Let me go back to what we got here. I didn't sit there the entire time. I also had to run down the hall to see if I was going to get sick, not from the food, from the severe flu. I don't remember you leaving the table. I guess you did. Okay. Yeah, you must have at some point. You must have, but oh my God, I'm so sorry. But it was so good, and I want to go back with you at some point. We need to do that. You did twice. Okay, I am so sorry. I still don't know why you didn't. Thank you for the like. I still don't know why you didn't go home. I mean, I know why, and I very much appreciate it. But wow. Oh. Okay, we're going to go to new memories. So I have been going to Disney between Christmas and New Year's for, this will be my 11th year, my 12th year coming up, if all goes well. I tend to bring different people every time. Some people repeat, but it's usually not the same person 2 times in a row. One of the things they have up by Town Hall is this sign that has a countdown. They put it up in November, and I didn't realize that until I came off season. They put it up in November, and then it just runs questions. Runs down like this many days to Christmas, this many days to Christmas. So a number of times I've been there when it said 001 day to Christmas, you know, and then if you go on Christmas Day, it changes to 000 days for Christmas. So I went. This was another trip. Drew, maybe this was the same. No, it couldn't have been the same one. This was the night when California Girl, you didn't feel well afterwards and you went home, and then I went into the parks. Okay, I'm sorry. I kept having these great memories without you, but you're there. We had dinner at the Wave. No, we had dinner at the Wave, and then you went back to the room, and I went over to the parks, and it was Christmas Eve. And I walked in, and I got in line. I did a couple rides, but I had gotten in line for Peter Pan, like right before the park closed, because the park technically closed at midnight. And it might have closed at 1. It might have said it closed at 1, but it basically midnight becomes Christmas itself officially. And we're standing in line, and I'm working my way up the Peter Pan line, and I'm like just about to get on. I'm like 3 people away, maybe 2 people away. And one of the cast members standing in the line just kind of looks to the side and goes, "Merry Christmas, everyone." And it had just hit midnight while we were there. And it was like, oh my God. And then I got on Peter Pan at the very first start of Christmas and got to ride Peter Pan on Christmas. So then I slowly start to walk out the park and I'm just absorbing the Snope, which is the snow soap, and taking in the experience and loving the whole memory and how much joy and wonder and fun it was. And I get over to the sign, and it had been 001 when I walked in, and I walked up and it suddenly said 000. And that was the first time I'd ever see it do that. And I was like, oh, it is Christmas. It's now. And I just, it was that kind of special experience of like being in that place at the right time. Really just lovely, just lovely. It was all during the California Grill experience. I was early Germ Factor Perks. The later restaurants have made a couple. Well, the Wave I know was another one where you went home, and that was that whole horrible trip getting you back. Then I went into the park, but I couldn't remember if that was Christmas Eve or not. So again, if you have more fun stories, throw them in the comments. I want to hear. What else do we have? So, God, these are all good. Oh, okay. Drew, I don't know if this was you or Matt on this trip. So I have a friend who she can get some extra bells and whistles just from her family connections at the parks on occasion. And she has very generously shared some of that joy with me. We had gotten, because we were expecting 2 more people to join us that day, we had gotten what is called a golden ticket. These really don't happen much at all anymore, but it is a yellow piece of paper that is a specialty gift. It could be like, I saw some people get one recently that was for free ice cream because they rode Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin 24 times in a row. Literally, they just kept getting on. At one point, the cast members were like, "Don't get off the ride, just ride through the tunnel. Go ahead, stay on," and just let them stay for like a chunk of times until they'd have to clean the vehicles. So that being said, she had gotten us a golden ticket to ride Frozen, which had just opened. It's just, when the lines were still 4 and 5 and 6 hours long, which during Christmas would have been up there. And we were really excited, but we had this golden ticket and we got it for 6 people. And 2 of the people that were going to join us couldn't make it after all. And we're like, oh, well, I guess we'll go. And we started to go, and I'm like, but why do we want to waste this? 2 people could be, this line is awful. So they were like, let's look for a mom and a daughter. Or 2 people who want to go. And we were like, oh, so are you guys looking to go see Frozen? Oh, no. We're just waiting for my husband or whatever. Every person we got to, it was 4 people. It was 6 people. It was 3 people. It was someone who just wasn't good. And then we suddenly saw these 2 women who were wearing tiaras. And I was like, okay, there's a special something. These are the right energy people, you can tell. So were you looking to get on Frozen? We asked them, because she was about to give it up. I said, let me try. And I asked these people, were you going to get on Frozen? Oh, no, it's like a 2-hour wait. Oh, yeah, we got to leave we got to drive home tonight. So, we got to leave within a half an hour. We're done. We didn't get to go. Really? Would you like to? What do you mean? If we could get you in the fast pass lane and get you in now. So actually, I don't think they had fast passes, but like if we could get you in so where you could skip the line, would you go on it? That would be incredible. Yeah. Okay. Come on. Found out one of them was having her birthday that day. They had been there for a week. They had not gotten on Frozen. They've been doing all different things. They were driving home that day. This was the last moment before they were going to leave. And they hadn't gotten on. And we got them on the ride. We got to walk them on and have that experience. And I ended up because and they didn't have Memory Maker. They didn't spend the money to get the ride pictures. I said, would you like a picture of that? If you give me your email address or your text number, I will send it to you once I get them in, because I had it. And they were like, that would be great. And I was like, okay. So I texted her the picture, and we all were like doing happy poses in the picture. It was this great memory of like something that we could give to someone and make their day so magical and so special. And it just filled me with joy. It made me really, really happy. What we got here? Okay. I've only been to Magic Kingdom once on Christmas Day. The park lost power for 2 hours. Oh my goodness. Now I know someone who was just in Disneyland before it closed, and Adventureland lost power. There was like a short over at the Jungle Cruise, and all of Adventureland like shut down and got blocked off. Which yikes! So yeah, I'm curious to like, did you stay in the park the whole time? Obviously, yes, cranky people, but so was it Christmas Day or just that week? I'm curious. That's wow. 2005. Okay. And yes, it was the Frozen story. So you were the person, Drew. Yeah. So, okay. Wow. That's crazy. Was the entire park was out of power at that point? Like, or just small parts of it? I'm just curious. While you do that. All right. So that was that one. Okay. So I think I'm going to go with, because we're almost at an hour now. I think we're going to go with this one. So my last story, it's not the happiest, but it does kind of pull us back to where we are here. Drew and I were both very lucky to be in the parks the last day it closed. And as we talked about, he was talking about the gluten-free churro moment at Animal Kingdom. I want to talk about what happened before then in Magic Kingdom. Oh, okay. Well, Drew will have to watch this later because he just got frozen out. That's unfortunate. Hopefully, yeah, it's still running. Okay, so I'm going to tell this last story and then we're going to finish. The entire park was dark. That's amazing. Christmas Day, 45 minutes to an hour to test the rides before it reopened. That is incredibly, wow. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. So the final day, that morning we went to Magic Kingdom. We Ubered over to Contemporary, and then we walked in, and we'd been hyper careful, washing hands, being super, making sure everything was safe. And it was just this very surreal experience. The DCP had all been informed the day before that while they were originally going to be kept on, they were now being told they were all going home. That this was the end of their line. And some of them had just started a couple weeks before. Some of them, they had 4 days till they finished. Everybody was going home. One of them was trying to become full-time. She was 4 days away from becoming full-time, and she had to go home. It was really rough. Some of them, yeah, and these people were just finding this out. I sat in the Skyliner with Drew and two or three other guests and 2 DCP, both who had just gotten the news the day before, just both of them crying, both of them heartbroken, male and female. But that day we were in Magic Kingdom. We got on the Jungle Cruise, and the Jungle Cruise driver was spot on hysterical. I believe I actually have put this footage up online. When you look at if you go back to my vlogs from the March trip, and maybe after the fact, I'll throw it on in the description below, because I still don't know how to do those things that say I don't know how to do those. But he was really, really good. And at some point, because I'm interactive and I respond back, I said something like, "How are you?" And he took a half a moment pause, as well as can be expected. And I'd been vlogging him this whole time and recording the thing. And I looked and went, turned off the camera and went, "DCP?" And he went, "Yep." And I went, "I'm so sorry." And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Thank you. Just thank you. What else can I say at that point?" And then turned the camera back on, and we all went, and we got stuck on the ride for a little bit longer. And again, he kept the jokes coming, and he was funny, and he was professional. There was that one moment where you kind of saw the facade start to break, and it was not a busy day in the park. I mean, it was like as empty as it is now. It probably is about where it is now, is where they were. People were all just cutting loose and leaving. That same day, I took Drew into Cinderella's castle, into the walkway where they've got all of those beautiful mosaics. If you've never been, go inside the castle. These insanely gorgeous mosaics of the story of Cinderella. And I was explaining to him how on this one particular one, where Cinderella's got the Duke and his footman, and they're putting the shoe on Cinderella, that she's the pictures of the guys don't match the faces in the movies. And it's because they are Imagineers. They replaced them. I believe the Duke is John Hench. If you've ever heard of Hench Purple, which is that if you see all the Disney signs as you're going in and out, it's that bright purple and that bright red. That purple is Hench Purple, and that's for John Hench. and he was the Imagineer who utilized that color, who first created and started that color. It so I'm explaining this to him and telling the story, and I turn to her I turned to a three cast members, said, do you know who the other person's supposed to be? Because I couldn't remember who it was. And the girls were like, what do you mean? They're younger. They were not DCP, but they were younger. And the other one was like, oh yeah. And she starts then sharing the story with them that the people, I will get to that in a second, Shaggy, because I can't see as clear. But the people, she started sharing the story about who they were and why they're there and all of those things I had learned on one of my backstage tours. And suddenly I'm literally watching the cast member, who was probably in her 50s or, well, maybe actually 60s, maybe even 70s. I mean, she was of a mature age, still, you know, spry, wonderful, whatever. But I see her now sharing this information to the 20, 30-year-old who's working there, keeping the line, keeping the history and going. And that just hit something in me of like, this is the Hamilton who tells your story, you know, that's something traveling there that was beautiful. Shaggy, it was Christmas Day, Hyde Park was dark. Wow, that's crazy. Big typical Christopher Festivities, that's crazy. So at the very end, and I don't know what you're asking me, I believe in, oh Yash, I don't know what you're specifically asking. I will only be on for another couple minutes, so if you do have a question, you can throw that in there. Otherwise, I'm going to finish up this story. So Drew took a picture actually of me standing in the arch looking down Main Street, and it was just this very bittersweet moment of just taking in the fact that I wasn't going to be there for a long time, and knowing I wasn't going to be there for a long time. And as I'm looking through, I see these one guy, two girls, DCP, a Disney College program, for those of you who don't believe that. I know it exists. It's not something I do, but you know, it has nothing to do with Disney. So we're changing subject back. And the kids were trying to take a picture, and I then see them down farther down. I took the picture for them because I do that all the time. And then they were down in front of the castle, and they were trying to come up with some kind of silly, crazy pose together. And I looked at them and said, the clown, the performer in me went, wait. All right. So if you do this, I told, the one girl was like sitting on the guy's shoulders, and I was like, all right, if you're going to do that, then you sit here. And I did them in the totem pole with the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, and took the picture for them. And it was hysterical. And it was just something really unusual and really fun that they could share, you know, a memory that was just something different and something interesting. And then we left the park. That was our last moment. You know, the band came by, the horses were out. We got to talk to the horses. It was that final goodbye, that final special moment. You were wearing that stone. Nope, this is from Chico's. This is, and the set is from Chico's. It's a random jewelry store that women in their 40s and 50s tend to shop at, and older. The shirt's from Chico's. All of it's from Chico's. So yeah, so that's the, no problem. It's just blue stones and purple stones. I don't know if you can see it any better that way. It's just Chico's. The Horse Whisperer. Yeah, I mean, we weren't allowed to pet the horses. We weren't allowed to go up to them, which was sad. But it was so bittersweet, but it was so beautiful. And for me at that moment, I was so glad I was there, because we almost canceled our trip. We had that scheduled for the weekend right before the park closed. We went, you know what, we're going to do it. And we were hyper careful. I mean, we were every chance we could. We had sanitizer. We're scrubbing our hands everywhere we went. Didn't touch our faces. Didn't, you know, just careful. And it was heartbreakingly poignant to be there at that moment. You know, one of the cast members I had met a number of years ago remembered me, which I only had one conversation with her, and I stuck in her memory, which shocked me. But because we were talking Gary Izzo and Renaissance festivals, which is probably why, similar worlds. But I saw her, and she very quietly and very privately said it's been a very tough day, because she's saying goodbye to all these kids that she's been working with, as well as not knowing when she's going to have work. You know, they were going to pay them for as long as they could, which went for a while, but at this point they're not. And it was heartbreaking. It was scary. For them, and she was fighting back tears, and I was glad I could be there and say thank you to those people and to support them for being there for us and for everything that they do. So that will stay with me. That will haunt me in a beautiful and loving and generous way, if that makes sense. But so those are my top memories, and I've got others. Good Lord, from all the years I've been going, I adore it. Oh, these are because I perform Commedia dell'arte. It is a style of theater from the Italian Renaissance, where when people were really far away from you and you couldn't see your face, you would put the mask on, and it made your facial dimensions much more large and loud so that people could see you at a distance. It also gave you a very clear personality of what you were, what your character was about before you opened your mouth. Some of them are full face masks. The black ones are called neutral masks, and they're a training tool for learning how to get rid of your physical habits. So they're theatrical masks. They're performance masks. That's all. Yash is that I think I did before. So shout out to Yash. Thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for everybody else who has been part of this conversation. I am going to say goodbye and thank you, and hope you have a great week. And hopefully we will all be back playing in the park soon, making new magical, wonderful memories. Thank you so much. Take care to all of you. And we'll do this again soon. Thanks. Bye. I don't have a tagline.